Hey there, everybody. Welcome to our review of Power Book 3 Raising Kanan Season 2, Episode 4. We're a good chunk into the story now. I think it's really kind of getting to this point where we have been wanting all of this juicy stuff for like Kanan and Detective Howard for like a really long time. And now we're actually starting to see it. And man, is this going to get messy.
Yeah, I know there wasn't like a ton of action except for what's going on with Rock and her business. But for me, the really good stuff about Raising Kanan is this, where they're starting to just dive a bit deeper into the family relationships and sort of what's going on, and Rock balancing her lies with Kanan, about Howard, about his dad, and all that sort of good stuff. Everything that's going on with Jukebox, and now that she's actually sat down with her mom, everything going on with Marvin and what he did for her room. He's really trying. It's not there yet, but it's getting there. But we will get into all of that. But before we do, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We've got more Raising Kanan on the way all season long. Can't believe we're almost halfway through already. It's pretty, this is just going by like that. We have House of the Dragon here. Andor's going to be starting up this month. If you're a Star Wars fan, we're going to be covering that as well.
Okay, I'll do something a little different here. I'm going to start with like my one big critique of this episode. I'm out on these Italian guys. I'm totally out. I have seen 200 Italian mobsters on every single show across all over the world. Now, this show has done such a good job of making all these nuanced characters, whether it be, unique, whether it be Rock's family, whether it even be, somebody like Scrappy, R.I.P. It's like they put all this depth into them. And to then just see like these cookie cutter, like Sopranos knockoff characters like show up. It's just like you guys are better than this show. If you're going to introduce something like this, like make me care about them beyond just a prototype.
I've never really been a fan of sort of that cookie cutter mob story. I think it's because the stories feel the same over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And it felt the same here. It's difficult to watch such a cool, more intimate back and forth with Rock and Unique. And, he's not gone. We saw him in this episode too, but it's hard to go from like a really juicy back and forth like that with two very smart, very charismatic characters who really were kind of getting one sort of on each other, to go to this where it's just kind of like, here's the normal pay the toll. We're just going to keep, hitting your bus, hitting your truck until you pay us. I was just like, okay, great. I know that this is probably going to be sort of what she's up against this season, but I'm not interested.
Yeah, I'm more interested in just seeing, this family from a planning perspective, everything with the school bus, which I think was an interesting idea. It's like I like seeing how they're going to innovate to sort of get around various problems, because Rock is just so unbelievably smart, and she's a problem solver, and she's really unafraid to take these chances that some other people will.
I thought once they brought up the school bus, I thought that she was going to fill it with children. And I don't mean like little children. Yeah. I thought she was going to be like, Kanan, Jukebox, go grab Famous. You guys are all going to high school. I need you guys on the bus, so that it didn't just look like an empty bus driving around, that she was going to like really make it look like this was a thing.
Yeah, she should have done that. Plus, that would have been just like so unbelievably dark.
It would, but she probably didn't want to put anyone in any sort of danger. But I was just kind of like, make it look believable. Maybe there's less likely a chance that it was going to get hit, because they would just see it go by full of kids and be like,
Yeah, like that sort of stuff can be interesting. It's just Rock needs better adversaries. And I mean, the weirder thing right now is just that I know these mobsters are out there, but like, is one of her big adversaries at this point her own son, who she has just lied to the point where, Kanan is young, but he's gone through some stuff now. He's able to sort of see some issues, and it's like abundantly clear at this point that she's not telling him everything, and he wants to understand.
he's really looking for answers. And I mean, we see that there's cracks in this trust with his mom, where he's gone to go see, Vernon, who should be his uncle, but, we all know Howard's the father. But he goes to try to get some answers about his dad, and it's kind of like, did he ever talk about me? What was there anything there, sort of thing? What can you tell me about him? And, Vernon doubled down on everything. It was like, yeah, he's your father. You have his eyes. You have his spirit. You guys are the same. Fill up my commissary. I'll see you later. And I was just like, okay, it didn't feel like there was enough to really convince him. And there wasn't. I think that the conversation that Marvin had with him in the car, where he's kind of like, listen, I know you want answers sort of about things that you don't know about your past or whatever, but sometimes you need to focus on what you have in your life in the present. You have, your uncles who love you, your mom who would do anything for you, Jukebox. You have a family that's a really good family unit that is here for you now. And I think Marvin's not understanding what it's like to sort of not have somebody, especially a parent, in your life. You have those questions. My dad wasn't around all the time. We're starting to get to know each other now while I'm almost 50. And sometimes you need to go back and have those answers and have those conversations if you get a chance. And I think that's the thing with Kanan is he's looking to have that chance. He wants to know, is this guy my father or is Howard my father?
It's just that sort of thing that's naturally going to just sit there in his mind. He can't run away from it. He can't escape it or deny it. I think Marvin may be right that, there are a lot of people who care about Kanan in this family, and that's all great, and it's not taking away from that. But he's inevitably going to be curious. And, Howard is someone who is clearly not as crazy as Rock is sort of painting him out to be. He clearly remembers, but he also is like, I'm not going to let anything happen to you. So he's showing that even though Kanan tried to kill him, he is still willing to be there for him. And I think that's what makes that final scene where Kanan is at his door all the more interesting.
Yeah, that's why I think that scene with his mom, where he really had the tough questions of why me? Why that cop? I don't understand. Cops are always after us all the time. Why me? Why that particular cop, sort of thing? And she's like, oh, he was going to try to get you to snitch on me, or you were going to go down for $120, and this is how it was going to happen. He was going to set you up. And he's like, well, I didn't do anything. And she's like, that doesn't matter, because he's going to set you up anyways. You're going to go down for it, or you're going to end up having to snitch on me. And this was the better way to go about it, because then you don't have to make that choice against your mother, against the family, against yourself, all that sort of stuff.
I just gotta say this about Detective Howard right now. He really needs Kanan, because just gauging from everything that I've seen with this man's personal life, he didn't have that much going on. It just seems like he's just, every scene we get of him outside of work, he's just in bed with this woman, just talking through some stuff.
Yeah, he seems to actually have a pretty deep relationship with her, and they're sort of having this, I don't know if it's going to turn into some sort of Pretty Woman situation where she ends up going from someone he's paying to be with to someone he's just with, because it does feel like there is something much deeper that is here. She's got a pretty good perspective on things, and she's able to give him a different look into things, to be like, listen, I know you think you're like, oh, I'm his father, but you haven't been there for him. And it's one thing to be like, oh, I fathered a child. Another thing to be like, I am a father to this child. I am here for him. I am with him. I am putting the work into him and all of that. So when Kanan shows up, he's like, yeah, come on in. Let's start this journey.
I wish that we were getting more of Howard's personal life at this point and less of whatever is going on with Burke, because it's just with these two characters not together, I just think Burke is less exciting. It's less interesting to just have her dig into her own partner.
They do not know what to do with Burke, and it's really kind of disappointing because they have a story that's like sitting right there with Jukebox, and that she could be becoming like a mentor to her. Her digging into her partner's personal life this deeply and going to see Unique about everything and trying to be like, hey, you know, you were wrongly accused. Now we're buddies kind of thing. I was just like, get out. And it's really disappointing because they set her up to be such a good, important character in Jukebox's life and still could be going forward, but they just don't know what to do with her is what it feels like.
Yeah, they really don't. And it's especially a bummer because Jukebox's story right now is so good and is like so interesting because, you know, she finally tracks down her biological mother, which Burke did help with. And now she's had this opportunity to have this sort of face-to-face meeting. And I think Jukebox is sort of looking at this from this perspective of, okay, you know, this is something I've really wanted. So I'm kind of looking at the best case scenario here, where she's someone who went far away. She didn't want to disrupt Jukebox's life. And now she's like putting on this air of like this, you know, great person and caring mother. But, you know, putting on this air is the real operative term here.
Listen, does anybody else out there think that there's something else going on? It feels like this whole, I was young. I didn't know what to do. Wanted to go off, be a famous singer, get my money together, come back and get you. But I didn't know how to come back into your life. And now, I'm helping out with, these youth groups and I'm at church and, I know you can't forgive me, but I am sorry. And I just want a chance. And I'm like, this is like all the perfect stuff that any kid that's been abandoned or has lost touch with their parents wants to hear. That you knock on that door and they're like, I love you. Everything is great. I'm sorry. Let me bring you in. Let me do everything for you to make this up to you. I was just like, this is way too convenient. She hooked up with Marvin and, Marvin isn't perfect, but like, come on. And okay, let's talk about Marvin. So after everything that was going on with her mom, Jukebox decides to go back to Marvin's place to pick up some stuff because she's decided she's going to go to church with her and get to know her a bit better. And she walks into her room and it's completely different. Marvin comes in, he's like, I repainted for you. I thought you'd really like this color. I got some art that I thought, would be for you, that you would really like. So I hung that for you. See that there's like, microphones and a, keyboard and like a big bow on it. And I was just like, okay, listen, I understand that Marvin is really trying, and he is. But I also understand why Jukebox was like, this isn't it, because it's not. You can't go from the reaction that he had and choking his daughter to, I bought you a microphone and painted your walls and hung up some art. So we're good, right? It's a step and he's trying. But I think what Jukebox needs, and she may not even know that she needs this, but she needs him to put in like the work into the anger, and she doesn't know that he's actually doing that.
No, and I don't think he's at a point to openly talk about it. Like, this is a guy who, through some of his anger management appointments, has been like sitting there, like eating chips and trolling some of the other people that are at the meetings. It's like, he's kind of got to get to this point where he accepts that he actually needs it. And I think we are getting there because we did have that elevator scene, back in the prior episode, and he realized that some of those techniques actually worked for him. So I think these are steps in the right direction. I think Marvin definitely has it in him to be a good person. I mean, we have seen those flashes of him here or there, but he's got like this really big mountain that he has to climb. And he's just now kind of getting to the point where he's starting the hike. He's not anywhere near the summit.
Yeah, he's really complicated, and he has a lot of deep issues that he is actually working on. It's just Jukebox doesn't know that, and she's not going to just be bought with gifts and paint. That she's just like, that does not take away what happened. Like, that's not going to stop it from happening again, which I think is part of it. Also, of course, that he's just like, I don't accept you for the way you are, which is another part of it. Like, there's a lot of layers to this that he needs to get through so that Jukebox can even open her mind to that. But because now this perfect mother is back in the scene, it's just kind of like, what's the real story with her? Because when she was talking to Rock about it, Rock was just like, okay, all right. So you went to go meet her. Let me fix you some dinner. Let's just kind of walk around that. She knows something.
Rock is the sort of person who keeps tabs on like everybody at all times in whatever way that she can. Yeah, like I don't believe for a second that she's oblivious to what is going on here with Jukebox's mom. And Rock also cares a lot about family. We've seen that time and time again. Yep. Like, she's put up with a lot from Marvin, with a lot from Lulu here and there. The fact that she has just basically frozen this woman out, like, there is a very specific reason for this.
Yeah, there's something going on. And speaking of Rock, who has forgiven people in her family, she gonna forgive Kanan for stealing because she's noticed that money's going missing. You know, Marvin has said something to Worrell about it, and we know that it's Kanan, and Kanan is taking the money to help his friend. And again, it's such an interesting storyline because when we were all like 15, 16 years old, it's not that easy to go to your parents and be like, listen, I need some help, or my friend needs some help. Is there a way that you might want to help me help Famous? Like, he really needs a place to stay, and I don't know how to go about it. He never had that conversation with her. No. He's a young guy. It's difficult to bring that up. So I'm not like putting that on Kanan. But his relationship with his mom has been pretty solid with stuff like that. I mean, his cousin is staying with them. He knows that his mom will open the door. If somebody needs help, she's a person that will help, and she'll help her family. I mean, Famous has been around since forever. So he's basically family. So would she have given money to help get him on his feet? I think she actually would have.
I think she would have. I think that, you know, she would have helped to some capacity. I think Lulu would have helped more. I think that there would have been there's other routes to go here. I mean, I think Kanan and Rock will get past it, but I think there's going to be some problems. But, you know, speaking of things that I may not be able to get past, I may not be able to get past if this is the last time we see Symphony, because, like, I love Symphony. I think he's a great character. I think he's interesting. Him and Rock have a really cool chemistry. I like seeing them. That moment where, you know, he talked to her about, you know, you always said, like, I was your vacation. I want someone to be I want to be someone's home. That, like, just made me so sad.
Yeah. But it really did show, like, when Rock was kind of thinking about it, that she was just like, we're not at the same place now when it comes to relationships. He is looking for like a forever stable home sort of thing. And she's just like, I'm just not there yet. Like, you know, for me to be able to do that, I have to let somebody into everything that I'm doing. And I'm not going to do that right now. I'm not there with that. I'd have to really trust somebody. And, you know, she'll trust people to some degree, but she doesn't trust people with everything. Like, look at The Secret. She's still trying to hide about Howard and her past. And I think that was a really important sort of conversation voiceover that 50 had as well with this, where he was kind of like, yeah, there's people that are trying to like stay in their past, people who are in the present, people trying to move into the future. And we have this whole cast of characters that are all in those different spots right now, you know, where Rock is still stuck in the past and trying to bury her past. Kanan's like, I'm in the present now. What is going on? Who is my dad? And like, you know, can I move sort of into the present with that? You know, it's just everybody's got something on that. And I think it's really a lot of the theme of this season.
And that is the stuff that this show is doing so well. It's like digging into these characters' heads and figuring out what makes them tick. Like, even if it leads to something we don't like ultimately Symphony not being around, and maybe Symphony
for now, maybe.
I hope he comes back. I'm mostly worried that like somebody's like spying on him and is going to kill him later this season or something, and then they're just going to stomp on my heart even more.
Well, we also have to talk about the business and what's going on with Rock, because she's just like, I don't really know what to do with my money. It's getting eaten by rats. We saw her looking at buying a home, learning about what other people do to sort of wash their money with art and everything else. And, even what's going on with Juliana, that she's just like, Unique's still coming back to the shop all the time. Like, what is going on? Like, is this a joke to you? Am I a joke to you? Like, come on. Yeah. There are a bunch of sort of little loose ends where Rock is good at selling stuff. The rest of it, she's still kind of figuring out, which, I like to see. I like to see characters that have those stumbling blocks are like, okay, I made this money. What can I do with it? I'm not sure yet.
The reality here, Rock, is that you need to hire a manager. You need someone else on your staff, because you're doing like 5 people's jobs at the moment.
And that's where the trust issues come in. She's just not able to trust people.
No. Well, we will be here to have all sorts of other discussions through the rest of season 2. So hit that subscribe button so you guys don't miss any of that. Follow us on Instagram as well at Matt and Jess TV, and we'll see you here next time.